Welcome to our exploration of economics, where we unravel the differences between positive and normative economics. Economics is not just about numbers and graphs, it's a way to understand how societies allocate resources and make decisions. In this video, we'll break down two fundamental approaches: positive economics, which focuses on objective analysis, and normative economics, which deals with value-based policy statement. By the end, you'll be able to distinguish between facts and opinions in economic discussions, a skill that's crucial for anyone interested in policy, business, or everyday decision-making. Let's start with positive economics. This branch of economics is all about describing, explaining, and predicting economic phenomena without making judgments. Positive economics relies on data, facts, and objective analysis. For example, a statement like an increase in the minimum wage will lead to higher unemployment among teenagers is positive because it can be tested and verified. Economists use models and statistics to analyze how the world works, aiming to provide clear, unbiased insights. This approach is essential for understanding the real impact of policies and market changes. Make things clearer, let's look at some examples of positive economic statements. These include statements like the unemployment rate is 5%, or a tax on cigarettes reduces smoking rates. Notice how these statements can be tested or measured. They don't include opinions or suggestions about what should be done. Instead, they focus on what is happening or what will happen if certain actions are taken. This objectivity is what sets positive economics apart from other types of analysis. Data plays a crucial role in positive economics. Economists collect and analyze data to understand trends, test theories, and make predictions. For instance, they might study how changes in interest rates affect consumer spending or how new technologies impact productivity. By relying on data, positive economics aims to provide reliable information that policymakers, businesses, and individuals can use to make informed decisions. This reliance on evidence is what gives positive economics its credibility. While positive economics is valuable for its objectivity, it does have limitations. It can tell us what is or what might happen, but it doesn't tell us what should happen. For example, knowing that a tax increases government revenue doesn't answer whether that tax is fair or desirable. Positive economics stops short of making value judgments, leaving those questions to another branch, normative economics. Understanding this limitation helps us see why both approaches are needed in economic analysis. Now let's turn to normative economics. This branch deals with what ought to be. Normative economics involves opinions, values, and judgments about economic policies and outcomes. Statements like the government should reduce taxes to boost growth, or healthcare should be free for everyone, are normative because they reflect beliefs about what is desirable or fair. These statements can't be tested in the same way as positive statements because they're based on values, not just facts. Better understand normative economics, consider statements like the minimum wage should be higher, or we should invest more in education. These statements go beyond describing reality, they express opinions about what policies are best. While they may be informed by data, their core is about values and priorities. This is why debates about economic policy often involve both positive analysis and normative arguments. Values are central to normative economics. Different people in societies have different beliefs about what is fair, just, or desirable. For example, some may prioritize economic growth, while others focus on reducing inequality. These values shape the policies people support and the debates that arise in politics and economics. Recognizing the role of values helps us understand why economic discussions can be so passionate and sometimes contentious. One key difference between positive and normative economics is testability. Positive statements can be tested and proven true or false using data and analysis. Normative statements, on the other hand, cannot be tested in the same way because they are based on opinions and values. This distinction is important for understanding the limits of economic analysis and the nature of policy debates. Both positive and normative economics play important roles. Positive economics provides the facts and analysis needed to understand how the world works. Normative economics helps us decide what we want to achieve and which policies to pursue. Together, they offer a complete picture, guiding both understanding and action in economic policy. Recognizing their differences helps us have more informed and productive discussion. In real-world policy debates, you'll often see both positive and normative statements. For example, when discussing healthcare reform, economists might present data on costs and outcomes positive, while politicians and citizens debate what is fair or just normative. Understanding which type of statement is being made helps clarify the debate and identify where disagreements lie. Let's look at a case study: the minimum wage. A positive statement might be, raising the minimum wage increases costs for businesses. A normative statement could be, the minimum wage should be high enough to ensure a living wage. The first can be tested with data while the second reflects a value judgment. This example shows how both types of statements appear in policy discussions. Consider tax policy. A positive statement might be, lowering taxes increases disposable income. A normative statement could be, taxes should be progressive to reduce inequality. Again, the positive statement can be measured while the normative statement is based on values. This distinction helps us analyze policy proposals more effectively. Environmental policy offers another example. A positive statement might be, carbon emissions have increased by 10% over the past decade. A normative statement could be, we should reduce emissions to protect the planet. The first is a fact while the second is a recommendation based on values. Both are important for shaping effective environmental policy. Objectivity is a hallmark of positive economics. By focusing on facts and evidence, economists aim to provide unbiased information. This objectivity is crucial for building trust and credibility in economic analysis. However, it's important to recognize that even objective analysis can be influenced by the questions we ask and the data we choose to examine. Normative economics, by contrast, embraces subjectivity. It acknowledges that different people have different values and priorities. This subjectivity is not a weakness, it's a reflection of the diversity of perspectives in society. Policy debates are richer and more meaningful when we recognize and respect these differences. In the policymaking process, both positive and normative economics are essential. Positive analysis provides the evidence needed to understand problems and evaluate solutions. Normative analysis helps set goals and priorities. Policymakers must balance both types of analysis to create effective and fair policies. Economists often provide policy advice that combines positive and normative elements. They use data and models to predict outcomes, but they also make recommendations based on values and priorities. Understanding the difference helps us interpret their advice more critically and thoughtfully. For the public, distinguishing between positive and normative statements is key to understanding economic debates. It helps people recognize when a claim is based on evidence and when it's an opinion. This awareness leads to more informed discussions and better decision-making. Media coverage of economic issues often mixes positive and normative statements. News reports may present data alongside opinions about what should be done. Being able to tell the difference helps viewers and readers critically evaluate the information they receive. In economics education, students learn to separate positive analysis from normative judgments. This skill is foundational for anyone studying economics as it helps clarify arguments and improve reasoning. Teachers emphasize the importance of evidence and the role of values in shaping policy. Businesses also use both positive and normative economics. Positive analysis helps companies understand markets and forecast trends. Normative considerations influence decisions about corporate responsibility and ethical practices. Balancing both leads to better business strategies. Governments rely on positive economics for data-driven policy analysis. At the same time, they use normative economics to set priorities and values. Effective governance requires integrating both approaches to address complex social and economic challenges. Different countries may have different normative priorities even when facing similar economic facts. For example, some countries prioritize economic growth while others focus on social welfare. Understanding these differences is important for international cooperation and policymaking. Ethical considerations are a key part of normative economics. Questions about fairness, justice, and rights often drive policy debates. Economists and policymakers must grapple with these ethical issues when making recommendations and decisions. All economic analysis relies on assumptions. Positive economics tries to make these explicit and testable, while normative economics often includes assumptions about values and goals. Being aware of these assumptions helps us critically evaluate economic arguments. Academic economists debate the boundaries between positive and normative economics. Some argue for a strict separation while others believe the two are inevitably linked. These debates shape the way economics is taught and practiced. Economic models are tools used in positive economics to simplify and analyze complex realities. These models help economists make predictions and test theories. However, the choice of model can reflect normative assumptions about what is important to study. When economists make policy recommendations, they often combine positive analysis with normative judgments. For example, they might use data to show the effects of a policy, then recommend action based on values like fairness or efficiency. Separating positive and normative economics can be challenging. Even when presenting facts, the choice of which facts to highlight can reflect underlying values. Being aware of this helps us approach economic analysis with a critical eye. Clarity is essential in economic discussions. By clearly distinguishing between positive and normative statements, economists and policymakers can communicate more effectively. This clarity helps prevent misunderstandings and promotes better decision-making. Setting public policy goals is a normative process. Societies must decide what outcomes they value, such as economic growth, equality, or environmental protection. Positive economics helps assess whether these goals are being met. Evaluating the success of economic policies requires both positive and normative analysis. Data shows what happened, while values determine whether the outcomes are desirable. This dual approach ensures that policy evaluation is both rigorous and meaningful. Economic forecasts are a product of positive economics. They use data and models to predict future trends. However, the interpretation and use of these forecasts often involve normative judgments about what actions should be taken. Debate is healthy in economics. By discussing both positive and normative aspects, societies can arrive at better policies. Open debate encourages the consideration of diverse perspectives and leads to more robust solutions. Culture influences normative economics by shaping values and priorities. Different cultures may have different views on issues like redistribution or regulation. Recognizing cultural influences helps explain why economic policies vary across countries. Economics as a discipline has evolved to better distinguish between positive and normative analysis. Modern textbooks and courses emphasize the importance of understanding both, preparing students to engage thoughtfully with economic issues. Economics can't answer every question. While positive analysis provides valuable insights, some issues are ultimately matters of values and beliefs. Recognizing these limits helps us use economics wisely and avoid over-reliance on data alone. To summarize, positive economics is about what is, using facts and analysis, while normative economics is about what ought to be based on values and opinions. Both are essential for understanding and shaping economic policy. Knowing the difference helps us engage more effectively in economic debates. Next time you hear an economic argument, try to identify whether it's positive or normative. This skill will help you think more critically and participate more effectively in discussions about policy and economics. If you're interested in learning more, there are many resources available on positive and normative economics. Textbooks, online courses, and academic articles can deepen your understanding and help you apply these concepts in real-world situations. As economics continues to evolve, the distinction between positive and normative analysis remains important. New challenges like climate change and inequality require both objective analysis and thoughtful value judgments. The future of economics depends on integrating both approaches. Let's recap. Positive economics deals with facts and objective analysis, while normative economics is about values and policy recommendations. Both are necessary for a complete understanding of economic issues. Being able to distinguish between them is a valuable skill for anyone interested in economics. In conclusion, economics is a powerful tool for understanding the world, but it's important to recognize the difference between objective analysis and value-based judgments. By doing so, we can engage more thoughtfully in debates and make better decisions for ourselves and society. Thank you for joining us on this journey through positive and normative economics. We hope you now have a clearer understanding of these important concepts and feel more confident in analyzing economic statements and policies. Stay curious and keep exploring the fascinating world of economics.